So by default, as you've realized, the curvature tool creates smooth anchor points, points that cause a path to curve in a nice soft bend. Anchor points can be corner points and smooth points. And a corner, as you can guess, has an abrupt change. Smooth points just kind of bend like we've seen so far. So we want to make sharp points or corner points with this tool. So with our curvature tool selected, we're going to move the pointer over to the left side of the horizon and we're going to click once to set an anchor point. Then we're going to move it up and to the right and we're going to click again. That gave us a straight line, which is what we want. Come down a little bit and click once and notice by default it's curved. We don't want that. So we're going to just backtrack to this last anchor point, and when we see the icon that you're seeing right now with the little bullseye, we're going to double click. That turns it into an actual corner point. So we can come back here and we can go up again, but notice what it's doing. If I go up again, it gives us this bold outlook. So I'm going to come back and double click here and double click here to get my, whoops, come back, double click on you, make it a hard point. There we go. And then I can see that this is still rounded because my rubber banding is showing me that. So I'm going to come back and double click on this one as well. So I get another hard point. So we're going to go ahead and make a few more peaks in our mountain here, but we're going to do it another way. Instead of doing the backtracking and double clicking, we're going to hold down Option when we click. And notice how my cursor, when I hold Option, has a minus sign. That means it's going to be a corner point. So as long as I'm holding that down, I can keep going with the straight line concept and I can finish over here. I can finish my mountain. We want to stop drawing, so we need to hit Escape. And from here, we're free to go back and edit any of these points if we want to. If you're not happy with your mountain, select the point, click it, and then drag it to reshape it. If suddenly you want this point to indeed be a round point, you can double click it. I don't think you want that, but you could. So if you need to do any tweaking here, I'm going to grab this point and kind of tweak it a little bit better. There we go. And then again, it thinks I'm still drawing, so I have to hit Escape to get out of that drawing mode. So that is using the curvature tool to not make curves, to actually make a corner point. Next up, we have creating dashed lines. So if you want to give a little flair to your artwork, we can add dashes to the stroke of a closed path, like a square or circle, or an open path, which is just a line. You are able to specify how this dash line looks. So with our selection tool, we're going to click to select this line, this path over here to the left of the circle. And then in our properties panel, the way we do strokes, the way we do dash lines is through the stroke dialog. So click on the word stroke. That is going to bring up another dialog box. So we're going to do a few things. We're going to keep the weight at 3 points. Dash line, we're going to check. And then we also want it to be preserves exact dash and gap links selected. So this one or this one. The one that says preserve is the one that we want. Now how this works is we're going to enter a value for this first dash, and we're going to enter 35 points. This is going to create a 35-point dash and then a 35-point gap pattern. We don't even need to fill in the gap when we do it that way. It just rotates between 35 points of the dash, 35 of the gap. However, we're going to tell the first gap what we want it to be. So we're going to hit Tab, and in the first one, we're going to do 4 points. So now we have a long line and a 4-point gap. We're going to continue on, and you can see the result showing up live over here on the left-hand side. Our second dash, we're going to have be only 5 points, and then we're going to create a second gap of 4 points. Whoops, I got to spell that right. 4 points. So we have 35, 4, 5, 4. When we're happy with this, we are going to hit Enter to accept that and close the stroke window. So this is our dash that we've just created. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to make copies of this dash line around the circle, and it's basically going to look like a sun flare. So with that line still selected, we're going to go over to our rotate tool in the toolbar. And it might be nested. Yep, the last tool I used was shear, so I have to get to it this way. The shortcut for that tool is letter R. Here's the rotate tool. Before we do anything, we're going to move our cursor over into the circle, and we're going to try to find the center. And when we do see the word center, we're going to Option click at this point. So hold down Option and click. That set our center reference point. And that's where we're going to rotate from, and it popped up our first option, where we can put in the amount of rotation and how we want it to behave. So we're going to have our preview turned on. You can see it got put down here at 45 degrees. We're going to change this to be -15. Whoops, got to put in a negative. But before we do anything with this, we're going to click on copy, not just OK, we're going to say copy. So here is a copy of it at -15 degrees. So to copy this dash line again using the same rotation, we're going to do that Object, Transform again, or Command D. There it is. We need to make 10 more copies, so we are going to press Command D 10 more times. If you're on a PC, it's obviously Control. So Command D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. There we have a pretty cool design, and we didn't have to do any eyeballing or maneuvering of it around. So to finish our artwork, what we're going to do is we're basically going to cut out the bottom half of this circle so we can move our words up into a better spot. So we're going to come over and we're going to select the rectangle tool from our toolbar. And we're going to draw a rectangle that covers the lower part of the circle. So somewhere in about here. It's got to come all the way down. So a rectangle that covers the lower part of the circle. It automatically had that same dash stroke applied to it. That's fine. We aren't going to use it for that reason, but that's fine. With our selection tool, we're going to very carefully drag across the rectangle and circle only. So I need to have my selection tool, and I'm going to select the circle and the rectangle only. That's going to select both of them, and we're going to use our old friend, the Shape Builder tool. So we're going to come back over to Shape Builder, and with our two shapes selected, we can now either bring them together, or in this case, we're going to knock out the shape at the bottom. So we're going to hold down Option, and we're going to drag across the rectangle and the bottom part of the circle to remove them. So again, we're going to hold Option, and we're going to drag across this and the bottom part of the circle. We're going to let go of our mouse, and then we're going to let go of our key. I seemingly have my river still showing, but the words are ultimately going to cover that up. So with our selection tool, we're going to take the text from the bottom down here and select it, and we're going to bring it up into our image like this. And then we can see that there's just an issue with the stacking order. So we have to bring the text to the top of the stacking order, bring it to the front. That covers up our river. We actually don't see much of it at all, but that's okay. And deselect and save. So we were able to do a lot with just a few tools. If you're saving based on page numbers, this gets us through 176.